Hello, welcome to this video and to another messy background. I am still trying to figure out my space, but at least I get light here, and the light is really highlighting how shiny it is right between my forehead, but it's okay. So this video is about the new release from Glossier, the Monochrome's Essential Eyeshadow Trio, and it's gonna be a lot more critique than compliments, I'll be honest. I get very suckered into buying Glossier things. They come out with releases infrequently enough that it keeps me pretty interested, and I only just started trying the brand, I want to say a little more than a year ago, and when I first tried it, everything blew me away, and I was like, why didn't I try this all earlier? This is great. But this release and the previous release, their bronzer, have been pretty disappointing. So in any case, let's get into this. The Monochrome's Essential Eyeshadow Trio, the entire component retails for $22, and then inside you can snap the pieces apart so the mirror comes out, and then also the place that the eyeshadows, oh gosh, so it's like not that easy to snap out. It takes a bit of force. I dented it earlier, but you can get just this, which holds the 3 eyeshadows, for $18, and these come in multiple different color stories, 10 of them to be exact, and I'll kind of talk about what I think about the color stories are like. But overall, the packaging is quite bulky in my opinion. It's got that like old school tin lunchbox feeling, but because you can kind of snap out the mirror and then this can snap out, there's just like a lot of space and volume that results in a somewhat wide and bulky product, considering it's only 3 shadows. So getting into the shadows themselves, I have the shade Mist, which is their lilac color story. Each of them come in a monochromatic trio of a matte, a satin, and a shimmer shade, and I was drawn to this one because I don't actually have many like lilac-y sort of shades. I kind of wanted something more cool tone because that's what I was gearing for, what I've been gearing towards lately, and it looks all right. I think they also had another cool toned trio that interested me, but overall their shades lean warm. Like I think there were 3 or 4 colors, like their almond, I can't remember, let me just look it up. Yeah, so clay, mesa, teak, and almond all look like kind of overly warm browns. They have a few interesting ones. I thought Mist, Rosin, and Prairie, which is their lilac, yellow, and olive trios, were interesting. They have one in Bluff that's just like pale. It's just like champagne 3 ways. I don't know, their color stories are weird. They have like an overwhelming amount of warm browns, and I feel like not enough things with depth. Like, I guess I don't know how this trio would perform on a deep skin tone, but on me, I'm rather fair, and it doesn't look like very bold or with depth, which isn't necessarily what it's going for, but I'm just saying, like, it doesn't seem like it would be able to look like much at all on, like, say a tan skin tone, and then on a deep skin tone, like, would these shades look ashy? Maybe, but like there are a number of color stories that fall within this amount of depth, even if they're in like different colors. And then the only ones that seem like they have more depth are the brownier ones, but all the brown ones are like a very warm brown. I feel like they could have done a better job on the color stories. There wasn't that much that like I felt like would functionally work on a lot of people or add a lot of value to people like my collection. Maybe I'm wrong, but those were my initial thoughts. I Okay, so I don't know if I mentioned this already, but like the least they could have done is make this a quad. Why is it a trio? I don't know, just because Glossier has to be quirky and different, I guess. But like it can still be monochromatic and like have one more shade to add some depth. I think that would be a very doable thing. And also, when I first looked at the launch without looking into too much detail, I thought it was like they had 10 total shadows and you could fill your trio with your choice of any of the total shadows, as opposed to 10 preset monochromatic trios, if that makes sense. So in my head I was kind of excited because it was like a cutely packaged preset, like pick your own, make your own trio sort of situation. And like there are other products like that already, and then in comparison, like just making your own trios out of single shadows is an option. But I guess I never aesthetically liked the vibe of single shadows in a magnetic palette. That's just me. They certainly work, and I do it all the time, but I just thought that that seemed like it would be a cute idea. It's not the case. It's monochromatic shades, monochromatic preset trios that you have to choose from. I guess I will get more into how these shadows actually perform on me. The matte is, they're all like fine. I think I don't have any major critiques or major complaints of them, or like amazing accolades, which is about what I would expect from Glossier. They're not really a brand that like shouts being very stunner with their shadow formula. It all feels kind of a little powdery and dry, but it all like blends out pretty nicely, fairly easy to work with. So this matte shade is it is really quite subtle on my skin tone. It does help to kind of add some coolness, a little bit of definition, and works really well as like a transition shade for me. I think that the satin shade here is the one that has kind of the most impact if I just apply it as like a one shadow shade, and it's got like a nice reflect to it. So I think just like if I don't want something super shiny, layering these two would make for a nice like very simple cool toned eye. And then finally the shimmery shade, this one does have quite a bit of fallout on me. This one's pretty cool. It is very reflective. There are a lot of like fine shimmers in there, which I think ends up looking quite pretty. It has like some very shimmery shadows will like look kind of wet and like really adhere to your skin. This one I feel like doesn't really do that. It kind of looks like if it's like floating on top, which is like pretty. Yeah, these shadows just feel they're like easy to work with. They all well, I guess if I go back and like take the matte shade to kind of blend out the edges, it will remove some of like the shimmers of the shimmer shade if I have that before. It's really just the shimmery one that has the most fallout. But in general, they're not that exciting. I don't know. I don't think this formula is something that's like you can just get something that works similarly to this from the drugstore. But these are all like thought out for you, easy to blend out. You will really only get like the same look every time, which is kind of obvious because it's a monochromatic look or vibe. You can just tone up and down the shimmers, but for me, I guess what's a little disappointing is I feel like the matte shade on my eyelid alone would be kind of not enough most days, at least on my skin tone, and like how this shadow contrasts with my skin tone is very, very subtle. I think at the very least I would want to like layer the satin and the matte just to get a little bit of like something more noticeable. And I'm not someone who like needs to have my eyeshadow be super bold every day. It's just like it feels like very much a subtle transition shade. So that's that. Yeah, I do think I like having this just because like it's a new set of colors that I don't necessarily have already. It's just like nothing about the formula is very impressive. The packaging is kind of like bulky, and the overall marketing I'm not huge on, because like a big selling point is that it's like refillable, but I think the functionality of it being refillable isn't actually that relevant, because I don't go through eyeshadow quickly enough that I imagine if I ever use up the shadows in here, I will be fine just like going and using up other shadows I have in my collection. Like, I don't imagine that I love this formula enough to be like, oh, I have to refill these exact ones, and then it's not easy necessarily to like switch out with another color story. I don't know, it just like it's basically a $22 trio of eyeshadow in my collection. It's just gonna stay like that, and if I were to purchase more, I would buy another component, because there's like nowhere else for me to just put the 3 like plastic insert shadows. So yeah, all of that to say, it's just okay, and it's probably a pass. It's definitely something that like, just using this palette does give me like glossier shadow vibes, where it's like, oh, I just like slapped it on. But generally like I definitely wanted to add eyeliner if I was not gonna add and reach for more shadow than this. Yeah, it's cool, but I think I just like my preferences for makeup are more, at least for my eyeshadow, I love really sheer like lip stuff. I love really sheer coverage things, but when it comes to like eye makeup, I do like a little bit more drama some days, and at the very least I like more versatility, which I don't really feel like this gives. The only option you have is like more or less shimmery / matte. You probably don't need this. Yeah, you probably already have eyeshadows that perform like just as well, if not better than these. And like this packaging, if you think it's cute, go for it. But this packaging, a lot less cute in person than I thought. So those are my 2 cents, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts below. It's not a bad product, and like it comes out to what, a little more than $7 per shadow. That's pretty expensive. Yeah, that's pretty expensive. That's very expensive, actually. Probably not worth it. Okay. Yeah, thanks for watching.